seems like it's pretty easy. But when I'm with my property management team, I get this long list of stuff that they've done. And so I'm like, what is really going on here? So those are my thoughts.
So seems like Gus is maybe taking a slower approach. Like I said, you mentioned you're dabbling your feet, you're learning some of the things. Justin, it does sound like you are moving a entire portfolio or in one area over to self-managing. So what's the thought process, I guess, going on with that?
So I have the one property that property manager that does west side and east side. So level one, do the west side because that's 1 hour from where I live. Get that stabilized, then I'll do the Eastern Washington one. But I'm spending a lot of time with them, and similar to what Cody was saying, it's they're the way that they're set up. They're low cost. A lot of the people are in the I think in the Philippines, so a lot of VAs. I'm like, I might as well just have my own VA and do it myself. I'm spending about a little over $1,000 a month just with this property manager. But so yeah, obviously I had saved that. Then there's the lease up fees. And then what I'm starting to realize is that when I'm not monitoring them, they're just like taking whatever bid comes in and then executing. And so I had what really got me to like officially switch over was like I have a brand new property. Literally, it's not even it's literally 1 year old, and they're like, "Hey, this is going to be a $4,000 unit turn." I'm like, literally, this should be like not even $500. Touch up paint, clean, and like a couple screws to fix a closet door. And I'm like, you guys aren't even analyzing this. Like, it's a 1 year old property. There's all these pictures, and I like this is such a waste of my time and money. Because if I just had approved it, they would have just went through, and I would have spent like 4K, some crazy number. So now I'm auditing everything, and then bringing them back in house because I think what's happening is that they got their normal vendors. They know that my threshold was $500. They probably are doing a lot of stuff for like 450 and all that kind of stuff just to get through the cracks, right? So I went across all my property managers, all states, and I moved everything to $0. So now it forces me to be involved, see where the money's going, and start cutting off the leakage. And it's amazing how much stuff comes up and how now the billing back of stuff before was like getting buried in all the properties, but now we're actually like billing stuff back because then I go to them like, hey, just confirming this tenant clogged the toilet, so we're billing them back for that. They're like, yep. So in the past, if you don't monitor, yeah, we're going to bill it back. If it never gets billed back, then you're stuck paying the bill.
So Gus, for yourself, like who maybe taking a little slower approach to deciding if they're going to do self-managing, do you think you're going to continue on this journey of diving deeper into self-managing, or are you going to stick with traditional property management?
So my next step is going to be setting up a program where people can pay through a portal. So I'm trying to figure out what's the best option for that. How I have people paying now is they drop off a bank check or a certified check at my office, at my agency, which is sounds old school. People don't want to get up and do stuff like that. They want to make payments easy. That's just me. I think what is it is on my end is being hesitant because I know once I get the portal, then there's going to be a next step, and then there's going to be a next step to the point where I'm going to be like, all right, let me just grab everything. I don't know if I want to grab everything because my mobile homes, and my bigger multi units, it's going to be tough to manage those because they do get a lot of calls. Um, so I don't know where it's going to lead to. I think it's a slow approach. I'll get the portal. We'll have them pay that way. The single families that we're still rehabbing, I got 3 more that I'll add on. I'll take those on myself, and we'll see where it leads on. I'll be interested to hear what Justin and Cody have to say on their weekly meetings. I'll be tuning in to see how are they feeling about it. Because one thing, a lot of things I agree with Cody, but one thing Zuber asked him, he's like, "Hey Cody, how many hours do you think you're going to be adding a week?" He said 10 to 20. and he said he got 90 units. So I don't know. Like, I think it's going to be a lot more than that when you're taking over everything. But I'm only speaking from an outside perspective. So
That's a great point. So Justin, to Gus's question that he wants to maybe dig into deeper with Cody also, but how many hours do you think you could be working on self-managing, per week maybe?
Incrementally, I don't think it's going to be that much. Probably at least 2 hours is my guess. Now, where the effort comes in is the unit turns. That's because you're obviously doing the unit turn and then you're posting the listing and starting to interview tenants and all that. So it'd be a couple hours a week, and then when somebody moves out, that's definitely going to be because I live far away. I live the farthest one away from me on the west side is about 2 hours in traffic. So if I do need to go show a house, it could take me a while. But I just found this. I forgot to mention, like Gus, I'm an investor agent as well. But I just signed up for this third-party software where you can have somebody open a house for you. It ranges from $50 to $100 a door. So I might just lean on doing that versus me going and show the property. So there is other avenues to help minimize the time, and then that way I'm not doing any drive time. It's just the behind the computer type stuff.
Before we keep, I think someone is blocking Six Buzz's comments in the chat because I think somebody's moderating. But you guys can let his comments come through if you guys, whoever's moderating it. But I get it all the time. Everyone thinks I wear mascara. I just have I just have very long eyelashes. But don't worry, I've been getting that comments for 40 years already.
My fiance walked in the background. I thought that's who he was talking about.
No. Six Buzz is just asking questions. But let's see. So I think this is a great point also. So you kind of touched on it a bit, Justin. And this is, I think Gus is in this process right now. But Alex, the accidental investor, is saying, I started out self-managing, then bought out of state and hired a property manager. I'm so happy I started out that way. I did. I'm going to take over my out-of-state property as soon as it makes sense. So to that point, Justin, do you think someone can start right away self-managing their property? Let's say it is out of state, then they do an out-of-state investor. Do you think from the beginning that they should look into self-managing?
I mean, I like when my very first property in state, I self-managed to help learn the ropes. Now, can you do it out of state? Yes. Most people are going to buy a single family or a duplex. So it's not that much work. Now, you still got to, whether it's in state or out of state, you have to learn the laws and the customs in that area. So it is a good practice to learn by doing versus just ultimately handing it over. Even if you do hire a property manager, I'd get into the weeds. Knowing what I know now, I would put everything at $0 approval threshold. So I have to know about everything. And then understand all of their processes as they go. Like, when they're going to the tenants and trying to get new tenants in, okay, what services are they using? Is it just Zillow and pushing out to the syndicates? Or do they have multiple different, are they doing Craigslist and Facebook and all that other stuff at the same time? So that you're learning, even though you're paying somebody else to help you, at least you're learning it as you're going.
And Gus, for you, actually both of you are rock star agents, and probably I'm sure early in your career you were a lot busier or focused on the agent side. So like Gus, for you, is that maybe also why you weren't self-managing a lot of your units in the beginning because your time was focused on something else?
Yeah, I brought my first property in August of 2020, and that's when I'm going up. I sold 71 houses that year, but my thinking was I'm going to manage this. And then the first day I get it, I remember getting a call that one of the ladies there, she said her toilet was clogged. So I don't know what I'm doing. So I grabbed the plunger from my house. I'm like, and I'm headed over there. I'm thinking like, what the heck am I doing? So I get there and I'm plunging it, and it's not working. And she's looking at me, I'm looking at her. I was like, you know what? I make a lot more money being an agent. Let me focus on that, and let me hire a property management team. And the property management team I went on to go ahead and hire, they're a great team. His name is Jesse McHugh. He's been on Bigger Pockets with Brandon Turner a few times. So it's not like they're scrubs or nothing along those lines. They're a very, very good team. It's just me looking at the overall numbers at the end of the day and being like, hey, if I really took this on, how much more money would I make? But the thing I do kick myself in the butt is not staying committed at the beginning and learning how to be a property manager. Kind of what Justin said. Then I learned how the money flows. So I learned how the money flows is through the property manager. So when I'm getting the statement each month and I'm new, so I'm like, oh, this costs $150. Hey, what happened here? And then I'm learning each month, and I'm like, now I'm starting to buy more properties. I'm working with contractors. Hey, that don't cost that much. You know what I mean? Now I'm pushing back. I'm like, hey, to put a new toilet in, toilet's like $110. Well, it was probably cheaper then, but it's like $100 to install it. You probably pay a guy $50. Like, why am I getting charged $500 for a toilet? So you start to pick up on those things, and now you're at the point where I'm not at a zero threshold like Justin. I'm at a $500 threshold. So anything $500 or below, they handle it. Anything $500 above, send it to me, and I'll have my guys take care of it. We could do it for a lot cheaper. And I like where that's headed. It's just, so I'm going to tell a true story. And I don't even know, because Mark collab with me on Instagram, and my property management team's on Instagram. So I don't know if they're in here or not. So I'm going to, something happened I didn't like. And we had a great conversation. Let me throw that up. We had a great conversation. But I'm like, damn, you give out these suggestions and the suggestions aren't executed. That makes me feel a certain type of way. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. And it could have been a miscommunication. It could have been something that didn't go through clearly. I don't know. I don't want to get into the weeds about it, but then you think, hey, if I had a whole team working for me and they were my employees, I can talk to people more directly and make sure they're fulfilling the things that I'm saying, compared to an entity that's been around before I've been an investor. I'm a little guy to this entity where I'm speaking up to them. You know what I mean? And I'm just a number to them. And that's nothing wrong that they're doing. At the end of the day, they're a big company. They're in the game to make money. So I don't ever want to shy away from that. But at the end of the day, I'm in the game for making money. So we got to kind of somewhat be on the same page. It's a tug of war battle. It looks like I'm at the beginning of it, where Justin's like throwing his paper in the air. He's like, I'm ready to move on. So you're hearing me talk about it a little bit different than compared to him, because he's like, I'm done with it. So.
Well, some of the points you guys brought up, I think the one thing is always having that difficult discussion, right? So I think a lot of people, their fear about self-managing is having to have discussions with tenants and whatnot, and go over difficult conversation. But at the same time, having property management, and most of us would probably agree, is you still have to have those difficult conversations, but it just might be with your property manager. So either way, you're going to have to learn how to handle those situations. But like I said, so Justin, for you though, you said you've maybe kind of been 1 foot in, 1 foot out for a while. Being around certain people in this community have maybe pushed you in one direction. But what would have been that biggest fear when you were 1 foot in, 1 foot out, kind of maybe why you were hesitant to self-manage?
The biggest thing is you're dealing with the maintenance stuff. That's straightforward, right? You're starting to deal with people, and when you deal with people, there's emotions involved, and both sides, right? They can get mad at you, you can get mad at them. That's what I worry about most, is like me going off the handle and doing something that would get me in trouble, which I'm working with a tenant right now where it's magic, right? Oh, we have banking issues, and I'm like, you've been paying normal and now you have banking issues. And so I've been trying to I haven't been paid yet for March. They did pay April, but I've been getting all these excuses, and my blood pressure and the more that I know everything about a tenant, and as soon as there's a problem, I get like death, like a bullseye on these people, right? So most of my tenants, I don't know their names. The only ones that I know are the ones that are a problem. So, like, for example, there's this one, I won't say the full name, but her name's Loretta in Milwaukee. And she was gaming the system where, and this is dumb. I don't even know why the cities and states do this, but the rule is that if you're going to raise the rent and this person's on Section 8, if you're going to raise the rent, you have to do it like, I think it was like 90 days. You have to tell the tenant 90 days. Then they have to then sign off about it. Well, what this lady would do would just purposely not sign it. And then, like, I'd go to the property manager, why is the rent not changed? Oh, we couldn't get her to sign it. I'm like, that's not how, like, you guys are idiots. Make them sign the paper or evict them. I'm like, that's so simple. So this lady did this 2 years in a row. So, like, she's in this, she was paying like $800 on a $1,200 3-bed, 2-bath unit. And so, like, everything that came to this lady named Loretta, my intensity, my blood would start boiling. So I have to get better at being able to manage diplomatically. You know, what I imagine, like, Dion is like, he seems very calm, right? I need to have that Dion-ness when I'm managing and talking to the people, because I'm just like, it's not this difficult. Here's the lease. You just do what it's in the lease. But when you have people involved, they have bad memory, right? So, and emotions get involved. So I'm trying to get into it, do it professionally. And, you know, so I'm even throwing it into Gemini AI to soften what I'm saying, but make it factual so that I don't inadvertently ultimately get a lawsuit.
So this kind of lead me into a question for Gus, because we also discussed it on our last week. He was on with Emily and I. But so Alex, the accidental investor, says start eviction paperwork. It should motivate them, and you'll learn that side of the process. So on that point, I know Gus also posted in school. He's learning some things on the eviction process. And like right now, he's trying to self-manage a few things, trying to learn some things. But touch on that again a little bit about learning about the eviction process.
Yeah, so I have a house that I got for a good price, and it's not the best house in the world. So, you know, we put it at an affordable price. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be my actual first house, first lot of land I build on. I'm going to tear it down and I'm going to build on it. I just wanted to recoup the money to be able to put in what I put down on it, recoup that money, then I'm in it for nothing and use that as the down payment for the build. So that's my plan. So these tenants, they're from Massachusetts, and they were a little rough. But my assistant said, give them a chance. I said, you know what? You know, your credit's not the best. Pay 6 months. So pay the deposit, pay 4 months up front, and then pay the back month. And they did it. So I was like, okay, we're starting off good. We're starting off good. They ran into some lump sum of money. That's why. This is all allegedly, by the way. I might be lying in case who's watching. But anyway, so. So they moved in. First few months they were all good. Come the top of this year, I think February is what they missed, and we're messaging them. They're like, oh, we're gonna do it, we're gonna pay it, and then they didn't answer us back. So I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity. I've never done a eviction. The property management team I work with, they normally do it, and I see how much it costs. So like, yeah, you know, let me try to do this to learn it a little bit better. So I went to the house 3 days, knocked on the door, no one there. The third day, I put the 7-day notice on there. I took a picture. Then you have to mail it the next day. So I did that. As much as I didn't want to go to the post office and be in there with a whole bunch of people and mail that letter to them, I did it anyways, got a certified mail. And then fast forward, I'm hoping, I got my fingers crossed. I got my fingers crossed they're going to pay, because I don't really want it, because the next step is I got to go to the courtroom. So I wait, and I'm only supposed to wait X amount of days. I ended up waiting like 2 weeks because I wanted them to pay. We messaged them and everything, and they didn't pay. So I went to the courtroom, and that was the next step. So I got to get a court date, get a summons and all that. I went in there. I saw a fiasco, everyone going crazy. I saw the line. Now the line was extremely long. I was like, am I really gonna wait in here this long to do this shit? Or you know what I mean? I'm like, you know what? Screw it. And I just left. So the part I did learn is the 7-day notice. You got to go to the house 3 times. You got to, or you can give it to them if you catch them on the 3 times you go there. So I did learn that part. But how I'm gonna learn a little bit more is just learning by the expert that knows how to go ahead and do it, and that's the lawyer. So we already got a court date for April 15th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And he's going to keep me informed on how everything goes. So not only am I going to learn from him, I made a connection now. With that connection, the places I manage, if I was ever to get an eviction, I never have to do those other steps again.
Joe V is, I think he's met for Gus. I think you were talking about payments for your tenants. He's saying, wouldn't Hemlane be able to help out with the payment aspect? So we can also figure out maybe what Justin's software he's thinking of using. But Hemlane could help with that. That is one platform you could look into, Gus. I use Hemlane for some of my properties. It works really well. They have a lot of different tiers you can switch to. But if you're also just thinking about rent collection, Baselane is another good option. Baselane is free, but Baselane is basically they're considered a banking platform for landlords. But I use Baselane also more for the bookkeeping aspect of things. But you can set up a bunch of virtual bank accounts, and so each property can have its own account. You can have separate reserve. You can have, so people are using it to put buckets, like they'll have their reserves, they'll have different funds. Each property will have its own fund, but you can also collect rent through that platform. Yeah, so they've also been they're kind of, looks like they're going to be a weekly guest on, or maybe monthly guest on Zuber's channel also now. So Hemlane's been on weekly with Zuber, but it looks like Baselane is also going to be joining him.
Is what Cody said he's going to be using, I believe.
Cody's going to use Hemlane. Yes, so Dana is a big part of she's in school community. So I think that's why a lot of people also like Hemlane, is they feel they can get a direct point of contact with the CEO, and if they have questions or things like that. The one issue that people have with Hemlane is they're still waiting for an app for the owners and landlords. So everything, they have a mobile version. So like if you get a message or a link, you press on it and it goes to like the mobile version for your phone, but they don't have a dedicated app yet. The tenants have an app though. So they do have an app for the tenants where they can go submit payment and message and put in a request and things like that. So the app version for the landlords is something that people have been requesting for a while, and she did let me know that it is something that should be coming out soon, but it's still in the works right now. But Hemlane works well. So Dion likes Hemlane too, more so because, and as you can see, Justin is in the middle of the ocean, but it's something where you can switch tiers fairly easily. So you can switch to a tier where management is already handled and the communication is AI handled. So you can switch to a higher tier maybe when you're traveling and you're in the middle of the ocean and don't want to deal with it. And then you can always move back to the lower tier where you're the one going to handle more of the communication. So yeah, it's super useful. Let's see what else. Do you? So no, go ahead.
I was gonna say what I'm using, because Dion and Cody are on Hemlane. I was actually talking to Brian Watts right before this call. He was asking me what music, because he was wanting to see if I was using Hemlane. So I'm currently available. I don't know if that's what I'm going to use long term. It's just that using, and I've historically I have managed the medium term rental using Avail because it's a free model. You only pay if you want to upgrade, like if you change anything outside of standard for like a lease or something like that. So it kind of works. Doesn't have the built-in. It has the built-in where the tenant can say, "Hey, toilet's clogged" or whatever. But it doesn't have like a system set up to where there's plumbers that come up, right? I'm assuming that's what Hemlane has. That would be something I'd be interested in. And then I know I'm in the Lumberjack Landlords boot camp for landlords, and he uses Door Loop. So I was going to check out Door Loop as well. some people use, I want to say Turbo. I think it's Turbo Tenant. And I heard that's good for the rent by the room. But I think I'm gonna test out. Brian Waters is gonna try out the Hemlane. So I might look at trying out Hemlane myself. You know, it's not a whole lot of properties I have in Western Washington, so I might do a couple on Avail, just because they're already set up there. Then test out the Hemlane, and then go from there. One question I do have for Mark, because it sounds like you're using Baselane. I love the concept of Baselane. You could basically have 100 checking accounts and actually set up for expenses and, you know, more importantly, CapEx. Do you use Hemlane and Baselane combined? So Baselane just being your transactional money in and out, but then the Baselane or no, Hemlane being for the tenants, leases and all that. Is that how you're using it?
Yep. So what I do is the main account for the Baselane, that's what's linked to Hemlane. So when the payments come in collected by Hemlane, it's deposited into the Baselane account. So I use the Hemlane more for, like you're saying, well, I mean, you can keep the documents also in Baselane, but because all the tenant information is on Hemlane, that's where the documents go, the communication, whatever photos, maintenance requests, etc. But the Baselane is more for just the banking and bookkeeping side of things. So you can even now you have like an AI feature. So like if you have a mortgage payment every month for this amount, that first one that you do, you can tag it. It'll say, do you want to put what's the word for it? But anyway, you can basically tag it. So every month when that payment comes out at that amount, it'll tag it to this property for this category. So it'll be like mortgage payment, this property. And then you basically, it'll probably 85% of your transactions will basically be tagged already. So when you do go in, it's not like you have to tag or figure out what each transaction was. So it might be a few ones that every month is a little bit different, but majority, if it's all the same, like your mortgage payments were the same amount, it'll be tagged to that individual property. And so, yeah.
Are you then pushing that to QBO, like QuickBooks online,
No.
or Baselane is 100% of your books?
Yeah, Baselane is 100%, and then you can just same thing print. You can get your profit and loss statements, income statements. I haven't updated everything, but as I'm starting to get properties now, when I input it in there, I will kind of put the information for that property. Like you put the purchase price. I believe it asks like what year or how old it is, room unit count, whatever. So basically, you can track that property, and I think it might be able to. I forget if it links to Zillow it kind of does like an estimate also, right? So it kind of tracks the appreciation of the property or what it's worth, and then that's how you can print out like your reports, like on how your property is doing. And then the good thing too is the accounts, you earn interest on them. So it's not like it's a zero interest earning account. So I think it's like 2%, but it varies also by how much money you have in the account. So the more money you have in them, I think the interest rate goes up. And then you can also keep security deposits separate. So you can have like security deposit accounts. You can get as many virtual credit cards you want. So each you can have one for maybe a rehab virtual credit card, debit card thing, and then things like that. So you can set up multiple accounts for everything.
Nice. Are you 100% self-managed, or are you just starting to take it over yourself?
No, so I have probably half is on traditional property management, which I first had, and I mean, so my honest take is I ultimately don't want to self-manage. I'm doing it more for like learning about it. I think it definitely makes you a better investor. You do want to know this, like Gus, right? You want to know the process of it, but you want to know what's happening, right? So you cannot be taken advantage of. But ultimately, and I think even Zuber was getting to that. I don't think he actually brought it up when he was. I think him and Cody during that discussion, Gus brought up that interview. But I think ultimately, it's like Zuber's like, I'm sure I'm getting scammed out of some money in a sense. Like I'm sure I'm losing some money, but where my portfolio it is, I'm willing to kind of accept that for the freedom of where. So my vision. So like the fire department, we always get bashed on for, oh, you guys get paid to sleep and all that kind of stuff, right? But we always tell people we get paid to wake up. And that's kind of how I look at the property manager, where, yeah, I may be losing some money, monthly, whatnot, but ultimately I'm not paying them to handle the day-to-day type things. I want them to handle the thing where it's Christmas morning and I'm opening presents, and then there's some kind of issue that comes up in a request, and it's like, that's what I'm paying them for, right? To kind of handle those situations. So ultimately that's like the long-term vision, where ultimately I want to be completely hands off. And yeah, I'm probably, it's going to cost me some money, but it's more that I don't have to deal with those things when those times when and just don't want to deal with it. Like I'm doing something else, I'm at some sort of activity or whatever, right? So that's the kind of the vision for me.
So I think
Nice.
sometimes it's about picking your poison. Do you want to have, I like to say freedom, but do you want to have more time to yourself? I guess is the better way to put it, and have the manager manage it and you just manage them? Or do you just want to take on the whole responsibility to make more coin at the end of the day? So I think that's the choice. And I agree with Zuber when he said that actual statement, Mark. I am making less money with them, but I'm not having to do the day-to-day conversations with the tenants. And that's something I do dread and I don't want to do. I want to ask Justin a question, but it seems like you're going to be doing that. You're going to be talking to the tenants once you take over everything. Oh man.
Yeah, in the short run, I am hiring a second VA. So a lot of the goal would be to have my VA do the work, which effectively my PM is hiring VAs in the Philippines. So, level one, I need to learn it so that I know exactly A to Z how it works. Then have the documentation, have my VA do the lion's share of that work, to where I'm not heavily involved. Because like the last thing I want to do is, this is low dollar an hour. Like for us as agent, that's high dollar hour. Like me as a property manager, it's low dollar an hour. But me learning it and then being able to coach somebody on my team, that's high dollar. That's something I can leverage. So the goal would be is like, yes, take it back over. Then, in a perfect world, sometime, take it over in Q2. Q3, I need to then be training this VA that I'm hiring to be able to take it over.
Well, there's one more program I want to throw out there to you, Justin, maybe to take a look at it. Some of the people with bigger portfolios who manage their own portfolio local in my area, they use Buildium. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that at all, but they speak highly of that program.
Yeah, at one time in Milwaukee, I had 4 property managers because I didn't like any of them. And so I'd buy a new property, to have a new property manager, right? So I'd keep them, see if I like them or not. One of the property managers that I had used Buildium. They had a ton of different reports and functionality on it, but it was just, I'm so trained on AppFolio. So all my large property managers use AppFolio. So I'm just used to how it looks and feels. I can find everything. Switching to like Buildium was like, looked Greek to me. Yeah.
Have you ever considered using AppFolio for self-managing?
No, the cost of AppFolio, from what I understand, is pretty high, right?
Yeah.
So
the funny thing is, and I think Cody brought it up too, is that I think minimum is 50 units usually for AppFolio, but I believe Renee, the forever landlord in the school community, who's a very big self-manager, he's cash flow for life. He basically pestered AppFolio into letting him use AppFolio to manage his small portfolio. I guess he consistently messaged them like saying, "Hey, I want to use it. I'm in this forever." And they finally just were like, "Screw it, we don't want to deal with you anymore. Here, you can use it." So basically, they say, "Hey, it is a little pricier. It's probably too big for what you need, but they are letting him use AppFolio, I believe, to manage his small portfolio." Alex, the accidental investor, says, "I'm looking forward to reaching a level of financial freedom that I can afford to pay for property management." So a little bit to that point, I think Gus and Justin kind of touched on it. It's not necessarily reaching financial freedom. It's also where your time is best spent, right? So like both of you are both saying the agent side, that is high dollar value stuff for you folks, right? So the management side is not where the money's being made. Yeah, you might be, but I think it seems like all of us are more doing it. We want to learn the system and process, and so that we have a better idea. And I think, like you said, Justin, for your coaching program that you help with Thatch is, especially like in today's market, right, where prices are fairly high, rents are kind of flat, interest rates are high. If people can self-manage and get rid of that 8 to 10% cost, they could make a deal pencil out, right? So that's another way to make a deal possibly work. So you having the knowledge on how to do it, you can also help these people like, hey, these are things you can do to make this deal work, blah, blah, blah. But I think, yeah, so it's not necessarily financial freedom. It's also just where your time is best spent.
Yeah. And one thing I'll add there is that I'm sure Gus has got this too. The amount of times that I've referred out property managers, and I usually refer my property manager out. They're definitely low cost. In Seattle area, I think I'm paying it's either 5 or 6%. So it's not high. Now our rents are higher here. So, at 2,500 to 3,000, 5 to 6% still adds up. But I refer them out all the time. So then I'm like, okay, I have clients that need property management support. Why don't I first get all my ducks in order? Then I could start bringing them on. One of my large partners, they're able to build up quite a bit. And then he was just it's avenue of getting new business.
You may have to repeat that last part. You were kind of going in and out. So I don't know, Gus, did you hear what he was? Yeah. So maybe if you can replay that a little bit, Justin.
Okay. So basically what I was saying is I have a lot of clients that need property management support. So to keep clients long-term, if I help manage their properties, yes, we would make money, but then that keeps them tight with me to stay long-term clients. Also, if they do want to sell, it is a good way to just buy it directly from instead of me listing it on the market, I can just buy it directly, or I can sell it to another client and do like a private transaction. So it gives you some deal flow with it as well as you start bringing it in. So I could see myself by the end of the year, potentially getting Appfolio as I scale and bring in other existing real estate agent clients that want me to manage their properties.
I think that's the tricky thing when you know yourself. And so when I explained, I was hesitant to get the program that's going to be, people are going to pay through the whatever program I decide to go with. That's just a step closer. Let's be honest, what Justin just broke down is a thing that popped up in my head, because how many times have people asked me, hey, property manager, and I just pass them along to my property manager. But then I think about my property management team, what they do. When someone has a bigger portfolio and they're looking to sell, who's the first person they're going to tell? They're going to tell the property manager. So the property manager has dibs on this, but I don't want to, I hate that I keep on like calling him out, but I'm saying it in a good way. He has first dibs on those opportunities. So he gets to either he's going to take it down or his good buddy's going to take it down. And so and he's wanting to keep it in house. So if you're not in that circle, you're not going to get these opportunities till later. So that's kind of why I still want to stay in the circle, because I've gotten some opportunities through them. So if I go independent, it's just going to be me and them. But if I go to independent, and Justin, you might relate to this, now all these houses are coming to me. Now I'm offsetting my houses with other people's houses. Now my fees are minimizing because the fees for other people have increased. So now I'm kind of managing at some point how I'm going to think about it, because I'm a hustler. I don't want that to be taken in the wrong way. I'm thinking, hey, I can manage my stuff for free and just manage everyone else's place. And when you're ready to sell, either I'm going to buy it or I'm going to put it to someone else. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. At some point, I have to say, Gus, don't cross that bridge, because when you cross that bridge, you're going to see a whole bunch of opportunities and money. And I don't want to cross the bridge. And that's what's going to happen eventually, in my opinion.
Exactly. I'll give you like a real world scenario that just came up. Like if I would have had my property, if I was self-managing, it would have been easier to do. So like for people who have been investing for a while, you start getting a network of friends and vendors that you work with. So in Milwaukee, I've used the same inspector, probably 50 inspections over the years, right? So we've done a lot of business together, and he's in the insurance business now. He does helps with the claims, and he was helping out a client. The client, the partner passed away. She has 7 properties. I want to say it's around 13 doors, and she doesn't want to get it. She doesn't want to self-manage anymore. If I was already self-managing, because of my connection with my property inspector, he connected me with that seller. I could have just taken it over. But what I'm actually doing now is I'm bringing her to my property manager because she wants to have the property manager help her evict one and then fix this fire damage unit where she's getting this insurance claim from. So I'm bringing it over to that property manager, at which point it'll be stabilized. Then I'm going to buy the 7 properties from her. So if I would have had the property management already set up, I could have just pushed it right into my own system. But now I'm like pushing her to the PM, giving them business, and kind of prolonging me purchasing them from them. But it's a good opportunity for me and for her and the property manager, and I'm looking forward to she's open to seller financing too, so I might just buy all 7 of them at the same time, or maybe one a month or something. Whatever.
So do you guys think so maybe someone starting off or new on in their investing journey, should they be considering self-managing off the bat, or is there other things to have in place? So to have, is it like building a team, building a network, relationship? So what should they consider first before they even consider maybe self-managing? Gus?
I think the first big commitment is self-managing. That's the first big commitment. And then when stuff happens, you're going to learn how to find the right people. There's the inevitable. The toilet isn't working. You're going to go on Google and find every single plumber as possible. You're going to reach out to people that that are in real estate. You may not even know investors. Hey, this guy's an agent. He must know a plumber. And you're going to use those resources around you to build up those teams. That's the best, in my opinion. That's how I built up my contractors. That's how I built up my electricians, is me reaching out to people, trial and error, who's good, who's not, who's expensive, who's always available. Once you start doing that, then the managing, in my opinion, is going to be a lot easier. For the single families I have, I swear there's no issues. Hey, Gus, the something's going on with the toilet. Not the toilet, the tub. I send my plumber over there, he handles it, I pay him, and I'm getting my check on the first of next month. Then I be confused. How is my property management team having so many issues? I know they're managing so much more, but it's like I'm getting like 90 to 95% of my money that's coming in. I get confused. I was like, is it this easy? You know what? From now on, I'm taking all the single family homes. But yes, and one last thing. I saw someone write Gus and Justin are high earners, and I don't know what the context was.
Thing that I was talking. So he was the individual that was saying, reaching financial freedom, that he can afford to pay for property management. And I was kind of saying that you two, you guys are high earners, so it's a matter of where your time is best spent. So I think they're just following up saying, you guys are high earners, and in this category, that's kind of different than him, and that's maybe why he's leaning towards the self-management to save costs there, right?
No, I understood what he was saying, but I wish I would have did that, even if I made coin or not. You gotta. So I'll compare it, and this will be the last thing I say. Justin, you get a client, they don't know much about real estate. You're guiding them to real estate. You know what I mean? Imagine getting a client that knows everything. That's less I have to go ahead and do, because they're already fully equipped with the skill to go ahead and say, this is what I want. I just need you to open the door. Then you're like, okay, this is, making my job easier. they know that because they've studied their craft as far as what they need to do to learn that particular job. When you become the property manager and you're doing it, and when you get to the point when you're going to give it over to someone else, you're telling them how you're going to run it. They're not telling you how. So you're in the position of power. I'm going to manage. I'm going to talk to all 3 of these property management team because I built this by myself, and here's how I run it. Who's going to run it the same exact way I want to run it? Once you built, and it goes back to Mark when I first met you. Make yourself the weapon. Once you make yourself the weapon, then you know the ins and outs, and you're at the advantage. No matter if you decide to keep it or put it with a property manager. So I always recommend that to anyone, whether you got coin or you don't. I was just the foolish person not to go ahead and do that.
I think to that point, you make a great point to make yourself the weapon. And I want people to also realize too, I mean, if you are going to go down the self-managing path, and let's say you only have, I mean, not the self-managing path, but that you use property management and you have one or, very a few doors, I think it's kind of like you do have to realize a little bit that these companies are managing possibly 500 to 1,000 units, right? So sometimes when you only have a few properties, you are an afterthought, and to some extent, and it is that little give and take. So, but that's to also Gus's point, is become a weapon or make yourself a weapon. And as you grow and scale, you have more leverage. Or so even like what I'm trying to do in Pittsburgh is we're trying to have a group of people investing there so that we have more leverage as a whole, right? And that's kind of what our strength will be, is that we have, a certain amount of people investing there, and our portfolio as a combined is a certain amount to where people will be willing to maybe cut costs for us, or, cut their fees down more, because they know that if we help this guy in a pinch, then these other guys will come to us, right? Cashflow Johnny, yes, he commented on Facebook. I seen him. He says he started in 2020. I've always had a property manager. I've thought about going self-managing, but I feel like I don't want to do all that work. So, Justin, first, maybe is it a lot of work from what you're finding out self-managing? What do you think?
It definitely is on the onset, because you're learning at the same time, right? And so, it's the whole learning curve, right? It's a lot of effort out of the start, and then it kind of decreases as you go down. When I was starting out, like, my goal was to get out of Amazon as fast as possible. So I did self-manage my house hack that I was in, but then everything outside of that was, 3 hours to drive or 3 hours flight away. So I started with a PM because I wanted to spend my time on deal finding and buying more properties. At the time, I thought that was a great idea. What ended up ultimately happening is I grew really fast. And this, I would imagine if you ask Cody the same thing, you grow really fast and you don't build the infrastructure behind it. And I just was scaling a problem. So by the time I actually stopped buying all this stuff, because at the peak it was like 4 states and I had like 7 property managers, all these different multiple bookkeeping systems, Appfolio and Excel and all that. It was just too cumbersome. And then it just caused me multiple problems on getting behind on taxes. So in hindsight, I wish I would have learned how to scale and do my own property management to start with, which means to do your own property management, you'd have to get your book straight. Right. So I was just, somebody was talking about high income earners, which, for me, it created a problem because I would just buy the properties and they'd manage it. Literally, money would come in and then money would go out and I'd just get whatever's left over. And then I would, about the 4th or 5th year, and it'd be over 100,000 is coming in every month. I'm like, where's the freaking money? Because I wasn't. I should have 70,000 before KITR. To managing the properties right and not having the property managers, focus on profitability. And so it was just leaking cash flow, right? So my whole goal here is to now simplify things such that I can then get control over it and then actually lock in these paper profits into like actual cash in the pocket, which that's quite frankly the hardest part. What I've noticed is the Google Sheet or Excel or whatever you use. On paper, it looks real sexy, but what actually goes into your pocket is usually much different, or at least on mine, because I do have a lot of C-class properties. And that was my, if I would have had the profit margins that Dion had, oh my God, I'd be like $40,000-$50,000 a month type stuff, right? But because I had all these, older properties with high expense ratios, I wasn't seeing that actual cash flow in my pocket.
Flavio says self-manage is easy with a small portfolio. Over 50 units is a full-time job. And Chris Ramsey, who's in the school committee, who will be joining Joel, Lauren, and I on Wednesday as we're bringing on different school members. But Chris is in Arizona. But he says self-manage, it's like pushing a car. Once you get momentum, it's smooth. Still sweating a little though. So Gus, what you kind of dipping your toes in this self-managing side, maybe what has been more time consuming than you could have imagined or expected?
On the self-managing end,
Yeah.
it's just been that one tenant with the eviction. Honestly, all the other tenants are good. They pay on time, and if they do pay, it's maybe on the second or third, and they send me a message. Like, I really don't got it. But maybe it's a single family thing. But I find those tenants, and I am a victim one, so I can't act like it's perfect. So, but I'm not running into a lot of situations that I think the biggest thing is when they send me an issue, I want to be able to jump on it as quick as possible because I don't want to mess up the vibe that's going on as far as them paying on time and having no issues or problems. So when I'm reaching out to my contractors, my plumbers, or whoever it may be, I want to get them in there quick. So I would say that's the only thing, but normally we get in there, we fix what needs to be fixed, and they're happy at the end of the day. So right now, no issues. I do want to say another thing. So I was a real estate agent. I sold a whole bunch of houses early on in my career. And when I started getting more properties, I started decreasing the amount of what I was doing on the real estate agent end. And I'm still a real estate agent. I'll probably close 20 to 30 properties this year, where before I was used to over 100 properties a year. There was 3 years I did 100 each year. Now we're not where you are, Justin, where the prices are crazy, but we're a respectable price. And I wanted to do that because I had kids. My wife got pregnant when I kind of started, and this is the prime years where I don't want to be on the road 24/7 because I wasn't getting all the listings. I was more representing the buyers when I was full-fledged. I don't want to do that no more. So I'm very selective of who I'm working with now so I can spend time with my kids while they're 3, 4, 5 years old. So that's my main focus. So when it comes to the portfolio part of things, I'm involved. I rent majority of my places. Me and the property management team have worked out a deal. If I rent it out, I only have to pay when they upload it onto like Zillow and things along those lines. And I'm really in the trenches. I'm on Zillow. I'm on Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is like the Wild Wild West. I don't know if you guys ever went on there to try to rent out places. You'll get all types of situations, and it blows my mind. But the day-to-day, I don't want to make it seem like I'm not involved in the day-to-day because I damn well am. I just don't have, I'm not the first person the tenant talks to. So that's my property manager. But my property manager better talk to me after if it's something that they have to make a decision and if it's not too pricey. The last thing I would say, with my property manager, I have a multi-unit. The tenant found me on Facebook and messaged me directly. You know what? I'm gonna read that message in real time if that's okay with you, Mark. And it was an interesting message that caught me off guard. But the good thing on Facebook, they can't really see that I saw the message because I'm not friends with them. I wasn't planning on doing this, so I hope I can find it here. If not, okay, here we go. Actually, it was her boyfriend that sent me the message. Okay. I hope you fully intend to compensate us for the loss of the food today at X address. Since you have taken over the conditions of the apartment have been deplorable, and the property management team has violated our lease, so have you. This is ridiculous. Blank is less than helpful, talking about the property management team, and is a cancer to the state. Expect repercussions if we are not compensated. So now I think to myself, if I didn't have the property management team, this would be a message that I would have to handle, and this would piss me off. Yeah, and I don't know what I would say. Now I did go on his pages, got a whole bunch of guns and stuff like that. I don't know what's going on with him, but we inherited that tenant when we took over the building. So what really happened is the power went off for half hour. They weren't home. The power got cut back on. Someone told them the power was off for a long time, so they lied. There was nothing wrong with their food. They're just making problems and issues. That's the stuff I don't want to deal with. So for me, having a property management team does eliminate that from my life, and I don't want nothing like that. So when Justin, when I hear you say you want to take on that for a little bit of time, all power to you, brother.
Short run was that short-term pain, long-term gain. So bring it in, get it under cost control measurements. I used to be in finance at Amazon for like 4 years. So like, when I'm looking at these P&Ls, I'm like, some of these are horrendous. So it's like, okay, now let's sharpen the saw, get these P&Ls positive, get some more black numbers, not red numbers, and then hand it off to my virtual assistant most likely.
All right. So I thank you guys for doing this. I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's the weekend. I think this was a great episode. I think a lot of people are considering self-managing. So it's good to hear different sides. And I think everyone can get value from it. So I think at some point you should possibly self-manage a little bit, at least just to learn the process. I think it definitely makes you a better investor, and it could probably help deals pencil out. But I do want to wrap it up though. Like I said, I was on Gus's channel recently. Go check that out. Also go check out Justin's channel. He streams Wednesdays with Cody Davis. But there is a topic that I've been kind of bringing up to each guest recently, and just get quick final thoughts from you guys. But can the average person get wealthy still yet today? Because Zuber has said he is changing his tune and believes the average person cannot become wealthy anymore. So, Gus, you want to go first?
Through real estate, you mean, or just in general?
No, just in general. In today's,
No, because I think the average person's still lazy, in my honest opinion. So, there's layers, and what I tend to see is the people that shoot above. Those people are the ones that are successful. The average, they're the ones complaining about the gas being at $5. I mean, that's just my thoughts and my opinions.
Justin?
I would say the probability, the percentage is lowered, similar to what the guest is saying. Yes, the work ethic and the hustle aren't there. And, when I'm working with people, like, before you even get into investing, you got to lower your cost structure and increase your income, before you even get into the investing side. And a lot of people have problems with that step one, but it's out there. Because there's people that are doing it today. Now it just looks different. So for example, I have a client right now that he is living in a rent by room. He pays like $400 a month, and he doesn't own the building, but he's renting for the room. He's going to go buy another rent by the room building. He's probably going to stay where he's at versus move into that building, because he can net more by buying that. So can you do it today? Yes. I'm seeing more and more of this rent by the room help people get started versus your traditional house hack duplex. It might be more a 4+ bedroom home to get you your first investment. So it is possible. You just got to be diligent, and it's going to take you longer to get that done. And, if anything that people can learn from today's world, because this last layoff at Amazon, the group that I used to be in when I very first started at Amazon, that whole group is gone. So I had a lot of people that were let go that were in the couple $100,000 a year. So today it's more important than ever that you have to take control and become wealthy with some sort of side hustle. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of whatever company you're at. So it is possible. I'd say the percentage is lower, but it's still able to get it done.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
On the average person, Justin, what would you say the percentages are? If you could just throw out one, what you think they are off the top of your head?
I'd probably say like 20% would be my swag, right? Like in the heyday, like, you know, when I started, so like 16 to 19, I mean, literally there's hundreds of properties I could buy that would have greater than 10% cash on cash return on paper, I should say. Now you still have to like actually get it once you bought it, but it was definitely more opportunity out there to get it. So then I would say back then it's probably like 50%. So maybe 50% is maybe down to like 20, 25%.
So the big thing from that video with Zuber and Jason Hartman discussion was basically Zuber saying, don't be average, right? So I think a lot of people are just stuck being average. And if you do consume, you know, one of his video a week, or Jason Hartman, or, you know, Gus's podcast, or check out Cody and Justin streaming on Wednesdays, you're not average. The average person is not doing that. So I think Hyder is going to wrap us up with some great comments right here. So Hyder does say, the average person still can become average to then, can still become above average to then become wealthy. Yep, absolutely. And then his final one says, Hyder says my below average lifestyle makes me above average, while the true average only see me as below average.
That's another way to say Dave Ramsey, where he's like, live like no one else to live like no one else, is another way to say that, where, you know, that's how I started. We lived in a 1-bedroom, making the most money, you know, at Amazon, like over 200,000, but just a 1-bedroom apartment. And that was the first property, the second property, the third. So, and we lived in that 1-bedroom all the way up until last year. Now we rent a 2-bedroom. So 10 years in, we're still in a 2-bedroom apartment. We have old cars. So that's Hyder's the same way. I'm sure if you look at what he spends his money on, you know, he's not flashy, but, you know, he's got a lot of flashy silver, Bitcoin, gold, I'm sure, stashed away somewhere.
He does spend it on Crocs, though. He just sent me a video that he got his first pair of Crocs. But you know, that, like I said, and now you're on a cruise every other week, almost, seems like, streaming from the middle of the ocean. But Gus, when's your next, besides this author, your best episode that just came out the other day with you know, me, Dylan, and Sabrina was on. But when is your next video going to be live, or who are you going to have on next?
Yeah, so I drop my videos on every Friday morning. Next one is, we're going to be talking about what are we talking about? I don't even know. But what I am happy about is I got Cody Davis on an episode with Henry Washington's mentee, and I'm forgetting his name. Gabriel. He's in Brandon Turner's mastermind group out in Maui. Am I saying that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yes, yeah. So I've been on Gabe's podcast. He's been on me and Emily's podcast with me. So he's going to be doing the episode. I'm very excited to hear Gabe, and then hear Cody, and then hear the last guy here, because they're all different, but they're all monsters. So to hear those different opinions, I'm very excited to hear that conversation. So
yeah, cool. Yep. So everyone, be on the lookout for that. Go subscribe to Gus's channel. I'll put it in the chat one last time. And then Justin, I know you said you did 2 live streams, right? So you did with Cody Davis on Wednesday, and who does he do live stream with that day?
So on Wednesday, like 15 minutes after that one, there's Brendan Wiersma. He's got a school community himself. So we do a millionaire coffee hour. And so those are my 2 like regularly scheduled ones. I'll have to hit Gus up to do one, and then Brian Waters and I are trying to coordinate another to do a YouTube video.
All right, very cool. So everyone be on the lookout for that. I thank you guys for doing this on the weekend. Everyone have a good rest of the weekend, and I'll see you folks back on Monday when I'll be back with my regular guest, Cody Davis, on Monday. So thanks, everyone.
See you guys.